Now, as we were heading out, Kacie and I, we flew to Lahaina, Maui, to help in the relief efforts there and to see what we could do there, because we do have a vested interest, given she grew up there. And we were there before here, and I got some pictures. Here's the bus ride for those going to the Turning Point USA event at the Capitol and Pier. There it is. And thank you so much, church family, for supporting that and going to that. Because regardless of the size of the crowd, God does listen to those that decided to show up and say, I'm going to intercede for my state. That we ask God to be the king of South Dakota. Don't forget our state motto, which under God the people rule. Well, I got to be under God to rule correctly. Because a lot of people around the country, they rule under something else, and it ain't God. At the federal level and state level. But we're grateful for that event. We thank you all for going. So, that's from the plane. By the way, on the plane, now this is from LAX to Maui itself, but on the way from Rapid to Denver, we met Chris Craig Warren right here, that guy right there. And we're so happy he came. We talked about it, and he said he'd come, and he's got a wife, Jessica, who's not feeling well today, but she's a worship leader. And they're down at Custer, but thank you for making the drive. It's so good to see you. You can make good friends on planes. So Hawaii, one of the islands, was coming into view, and that's Kaho'olawe. That's a pretty much uninhabited island because it's got a bunch of military ordnance, unexploded ordnance that's on it. And as we were heading through Lahaina, there's a whole bunch you're not seeing of Lahaina, but here's part of what we saw. It's just gone. And you've seen this. Maybe you've seen this image too. I mean, it looks like a bomb dropped. It was really surreal. This, by the way, this is part of Front Street. With that red building you see, that was a business owned by friends of ours, Warren and Lisa Gibson. After the fire, it looked like this. A good number of their employees lost everything because they lived right up in the neighborhood above that place. And that's another picture of it. That's Front Street, yeah. This right here is Matty Schweitzer. Remember that name. He and his brother Zane, they're surfers, professional surfers. And I might have mentioned their name before. I baptized Matty when he was a little guy. And we were so excited to see what they were doing. And this was on Instagram. And this says, today we bypass the government, the police, the National Guard who are trying to stop us from helping out our community. Which is what was happening. Okay? You've heard about it. These guys would roll up on jet skis and they'd start taking boxes and things, whatever they could get, and then they'd motor those things right into the beach. Now, maybe Brian Filer, who's in the Navy, could tell us what that is. I don't know what kind of ship that is. I'm thinking that's naval, right? Something. And but Maddie is driving this one. They just load it full of generators, water purifiers, whatever they can, fuel. That's Zane following behind. But this is some footage they took as they were doing this. Because FEMA and the Red Cross were of no use. Kacie, how many FEMA people did you see?
I saw 2. And they were sitting under a tent. I have no idea what the tent was for. And they were literally just sitting at a table. No one was there, nothing. They were just sitting there. That was it. And I mean, we went out the whole island 7 days a week. We drove the whole thing. We're all over. That was it. Yeah.
Probably still in the hotel.
At the pool, yeah.
Yeah. If you did hear about that, yeah, they have been put up in the nicest accommodations on Maui. something called the Grand Wailea and the Four Seasons Result, them and the Red Cross.
Because you heard talk of that before we went out there. But, you know, I'm one of those people, I'm like, I'm not going to believe it until I see it with my eyes kind of a thing. And then when we got there, you're just kind of like, this is really scary.
Yeah. So they bring those things to shore, and there's call it a fire, what do they call it, a bucket brigade of folks just kind of taking stuff right up there on the land. So one of the things we did, let me see, I think I got a video on this. Let me back it up one. There it is. Go like this. Maybe not. That should play. There it is. Okay, so this is a little trailer that was put up in a place called Oluwalu. It's south of Lahaina. It's where a lot of the people who were displaced went south. Either they went north of Lahaina or south of Lahaina. And so there's somebody whose name is Eddie Garcia. And he's watching over, and he has watched over a certain amount of property there for a long time. And they've got a vision. And Eddie's the second in from the right. Okay. And Maddie's next to him. But this is four of the many people who are there, and they're setting up a supply depot, you might call it. And they're looking at building. Oh, by the way, notice that? Does that look familiar? Biofine. Or how did you call it? What are you? Biofine with that accent. So Maddie was saying that is the one of choice. That's their preferable radio. They only have 4 of those and about 70 mixed match of others. And they're trying to communicate. And it's just real difficult. Power's still out down there. You know, who knows when that's going to be restored. But this is the area. See those little, looks like containers in the back? Those came from Hungary. The government of Hungary donated, I think, about 10 of these things. They come flat, and they pull it up from the top, and boop, the walls pop into place, little inside walls, boop, and it becomes a little house. But that's about 30 grand each. So this place has 2 of them, a church called King's Cathedral in the valley. It's in the middle of Maui. They have about 8 of them. Pretty expensive, but their desire is to make their own, you know, and hopefully make something similar, but less expensive, and then power them with these guys. Now, Mike Solhoff actually has made something like this for, I think, a number of you, these deep cycle batteries and however it works. And this thing right here that he made, that's Eddie, it powers his office trailer, the air conditioner, computers, phone chargers, whatever, the lights, it does it all. And so the idea of one of these per house, because the houses that need to be built are going to be, you know, long-term temporary homes. And so far there's 3 locations where they will be built. One in Oluwalu, south of Lahaina, one north of Lahaina. And Kacie and I were on a video call with Maddie and Zane Schweitzer last night, listening to what they want to do north of Lahaina as well. And then at King's Cathedral, the church I was mentioning, they're going to try to put some homes there too. Those are about $3,500 to $4,000 each. Just FYI. So, Kacie, tell us about the pop-up supply centers up and down the coast.
Oh, those were awesome. So they called them little Ohana camps. And so there was, I don't know, I think there was 7 total. But so these are them right here. It was unbelievable. So pretty much it's all locals. Like everything you are seeing is locals. And I mean, it could be people from other islands, but it's all just the Hawaiians or, you know, white people, or haoles they call them, who are just helping each other. So pretty much at each Ohana camp, a main like family, actual family started it up kind of, and they kind of are like the management, like runners of it. But then pretty much all the local people work underneath them and help them out and stuff. So at each little Ohana camp, you had like a medical tent. And then you would have literally a veterinary tent, and they had like vets there. They had like dog food. I mean, you name it. Then they would have like a clothing tent, and they had, I mean, it was phenomenal what they did. They organized it all. So they had like all of the women's clothing, size small, medium. I mean, they had baby stuff for baby boys. They had 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like hours spent that they have done, and that they keep doing it over and over every day, because as new supplies are coming in, they're sorting through all of it, re-putting it out. they even had like a little checklist, and they would like check people out, like a little makeshift checker kind of a thing to be like, okay, what are we in more need of at these camps? Like, do we need more men's clothing? Do we need more this at this location? I mean, the organization and like the thought process was unreal. It was unreal. But they would have all of that at pretty much every Ohana camp, and then they'd even have like a food area. So they'd have all your canned goods. They'd have like fresh fruits. Then they would be serving hot meals. So they'd have even just bratas in the back, just like making up lunches all the time or dinners. And everyone we'd like walk up to, someone would like rush us right away and be like, what do you need? What can we get you? And it's just like, we're here to help. But literally these Ohana camps, I mean, it's not comical, but it's like, even the families running them, they literally have nothing. Yeah. So they just, I mean, imagine losing everything you have. Like, you literally have a t-shirt and the shorts that you ran out of your house with. And here you are, you wake up the next morning and you start this camp and you just do this all day. Like, they didn't have time to grieve, like, nor do they, I think, want to, because they're just like, we need to help other people. Other people have it worse. That was the mentality there. Like, we kept saying pretty much, you're walking around seeing people who have lost everything, giving everything they have to people who have lost everything. And as they say, that's Aloha. And I mean, it was triple-fold. Like, I remember growing up there, the generosity, your instant family, the minute you meet them, I will give you whatever you need. It was that, but like triple-fold. I mean, everywhere you went, someone had a smile on their face. You know, you're loved. You know, I mean, anything they would say to you, you're just going, are you serious? You know, and here we are in America with everything we need, and I'm complaining because Walmart didn't have the sausage that I like, you know. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. And one little side note, like Maddie, when we were talking to him, you know, he's just running. You could tell he's exhausted. He's been going since this all happened, night and day. And he's standing there, and we're talking to him, and this guy, Josh, brings up like a hot lunch, because they were handing out hot lunches. And he goes, here, Maddie, like, you need to eat, you need to take care of yourself, you know. And Maddie goes, no, I'm fine, give it away, you know. And he goes, no, like, it's fine, eat the lunch. And Maddie goes, no, like, give it away. And he said, dude, everyone here is eating. Like, this is left over, take it. And Maddie goes, I got beans, man, I got a can of beans in the car, I'm fine. But it's like, that's the mentality. Every time we would try to give someone something, they say someone needs it more than I do. It was amazing to see. It was amazing to see.
And the moment he finally decided to eat that,
it was gone like that. I mean, he was starving.
He was
starving. Tell. It was so sad. It was so sad.
He needed the energy.
Yeah.
By the way, so as we rolled up onto this and saw what they were putting together as quickly as they could, and still coming up short on a lot of things. Okay, what they did do was what was necessary: food, some clothing, some medical attention. Okay, but I want you to imagine the other things you need: water purification, power, Our modules, the principles of self-reliance that we took everybody through, and if you're new to the church over the last year, you probably missed it, but we've got some things we want you to see. It's online, but we took the church through these what we call modules of self-reliance. And we covered all the things that you need. Let's say you're starting from scratch. Let's say you've got nothing. What do you need to survive for a while? Long-term food storage and the works. Well, we have a plan. We put it together, taught it, and I think the vast majority of us assembled those items. I kid you not when I tell you, we came up here and I went, oh my gosh. We have what they need. We have prepared everything that they're saying. We need this. Oh, we need this. We need this. But we thought it through. We have it. You just got to make sure wherever you've kept your prepared items that fire doesn't take them. That hit me. But think about this. We could actually go there and say, here's what you need going forward and in the future. But it's just, I wish we could have transported immediately all the things that we have accumulated and shipped it. Because it's exactly what they need. The communication, everything. I did forward them an overview of those items and to Maddie, and Maddie's distributed those. So that people, as they look through it, they're not having to just come up with, oh gosh, what else do we need? Here's the list. Got it? So I'm very proud of this church. Very proud of this church and the guys that led in that. Yeah. So as we were going, again, part of what we were doing was recon. For you, for our church family, for some of the folks we're teamed up with, what really is going on, because the variety of reports that were coming, to the mainland, it's hard to understand what do they need, what do they have too much of, and we're hearing all these various reports. So there's nothing like going there and seeing with your own eyes, and we have a very good idea of what they really need. But as we were going, Kacie has an idea. She said the firefighters, let me tell you, what they saw, the number of bodies they pulled out that they could, and then the DNA testing that they're doing to try to identify the remaining, because there's anywhere between 1,300 and 2,000 people that are gone. And I might say incinerated in the fire. So it's really hard for the dogs that are in there. They have these special dogs that sniff out, people. And they're having a hard time coming up with anything. And the people are still missing. So, but she goes, how about the firefighters? Let's go pray for them. Let's go find some and pray. Anything you want to say about that?
You can just see it in their eyes. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. You just look at them. It's just, I don't know. Like, kind of like when someone comes back from war, like you just look in their eyes and you're like, you can almost see what they've seen, if that even makes sense. And one of the guys, he just kind of shook his head. Couldn't even really say anything. Yeah.
While we were there, visited the old church. That's Kumalani Chapel, where the worship takes place. And walls on two sides, and it's open. Here's Sunday morning. I think it was the next day. We came in for a service, saw a whole bunch of people. About half of the church lost everything. Think about that. Imagine if half of this church lost everything in a matter of hours. Okay, that's the church where I was. Yeah, that's Kumalani Chapel. But imagine that. So they're in the midst of worship. I thought I'd kind of pan real quick. There's another church, Citizens Church, not too far from it. World Chefs, or Mercy Chefs, if you've heard of that. But I don't know if they're connected to Mercy Ships, same organization, maybe different. But they come in and they do meals. This is what they do. They come into a place where there's been crisis. They set up and they get a bunch of meals out. They put 50,000 meals out of this church.
That was amazing.
Is that amazing? Lahaina Lives Matter. Saw that sign, had to pull over. Next to it said, come and talk, right? And we met a guy, he had his cowboy hat. He's just kind of waving at people as they're going by. And it says, come and talk. So we roll up onto that, and the guy's name is Cowboy Dave. And I think he was from Ohio. And I videoed him telling his story, but real quick, he was there because he said the Lord had told him and his wife years ago to give a month worth of their income every year to help in natural disasters and whatnot. And then the Lord said, don't just give that money, you yourself go and be there for a month. So he came out and he just is literally available to be with people.
He sleeps in his truck. And then people pull over and he just prays with them and talks to them. And it's like, hey, we're here for you. You're not forgotten. We love you. Yeah.
It's really neat. I think the first time I cried.
Yeah, you did lose it.
Yeah, I was, I do now too. So, I usually cry pretty easy. But for some reason, I was compartmentalizing because, that's what you do when you see this kind of thing. And just kind of, we're here to do work. And then finally, this guy, just something about him, one of those things. And he just went like this to hug. Man, This is a guy that pulls up at Cowboy Dave's stop. His name's Brent. Guess where he's from? The Black Hills of South Dakota. Huh. The guy, he starts to tell us he was raised in a very legalistic home here. And he says, I'm now an atheist. And I start to talk with him. And I'm really going nowhere. And all I could tell you is then the Spirit of God went boop on Kacie. And she eyeballed that guy. And all I could tell you was everything she said. I mean, I just stand back as she is knowing his thoughts and excuses and rationalizations. And I'm telling you, and I just, oh my gosh, it was powerful.
He had lots of rationalizations. He's a smart, like, ingenious guy. Like, I don't know, whatever engineer. I don't even know the words. I mean, and so he's, like, doing the whole outsmarting. Well, if God made this, how does this happen? And, you know, all that. And it's like, yeah. So
pray for Brent. He now lives in a boat, which he swims out to get in the boat. Okay? Brent. And if he looks familiar to anybody, let me know. Let's hunt that boy down. You see this kind of thing, top says, have, and I'm looking at this thing sideways. I should have gotten behind the person's shoulder and took a picture of it. But if you have things to give, or if there's things you need, people can come up and just kind of write that down, and they try to match things, So as we were going around, we were meeting people, and I brought as much cash with me that I thought was that I should bring. Either way, I just brought cash because I just knew I needed to put money in people's hands. Because stuff I was hearing, when you got nothing, how do you go to the store? And the bank burned down and everything else in Lahaina. So either way, we brought cash. One of the people we came to meet was June Sweezy. She was a member of my former church. She was a street minister. She literally, she and her husband, even after his death, he died some years ago, they literally go on the street, a front street in Lahaina, and they engage people. You know how Henry and Darlene do that everywhere? That's what they did. And here's what's interesting. We appear at her place, and she says, she looks at Kacie, she goes, Kacie. She goes, like 3 days ago, something like that, the Lord put you on my heart. She goes, the Lord brought you to mind. And she says, I remember when Kacie was in junior high at Lahaina Luna Intermediate School, invited June to come in and talk to her classroom about what she does as a street minister. I thought that was sweet. I caught that moment there. That's Peter. You want to talk about Peter, the firefighter? In the green shirt?
Yeah. So, he's obviously local. We went so Pastor Rob, he's on the left, awesome guy. One of Dad's close buddies from Island, one of the pastors up there.
We stayed at his house and borrowed his car.
Yeah. But so Peter on the right, so he is actually a retired fireman. And he got up and they had him talk that Sunday. And he was one of, I think, 52 firemen that were retired that got called out of retirement that day of the fire, just saying, we need anything. Like, I mean, you have to think, you're on an island. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to, like, picture, but you have the firemen you have on the island, and that is it. Yeah. You can't call in Colorado, Wyoming. No. Like, you have what is on the island. And then to top it off, there's 80 to 90 mile per hour winds. So no homeboy fireman from the other islands can come flying in. I mean, you literally have what you have. So they called anybody they could to come help. But one of his main jobs was pretty much receiving the bodies and just like identifying them, DNA, kid, don't know what this is, like. And that was heavy. And I mean, he did so good. He was trying to stay so strong, but you can just tell, you're just not the same after that, after you see stuff like that. And pretty much his way of saying, like, we would say thank you, we all clapped and hugged him and stuff, and he just said, no, thank you guys. And it's like, what? But no, he pretty much just said that, what they saw, the island's never seen anything like it. And just the mental, that's the huge priority right now, is the mental health of everyone. Suicides were already starting to happen. I mean, there were family members who literally lost everyone in their family, their house, and their job, and they're it. Not much you're wanting to live for after that. Whether you know Jesus or not, that's hard. It's definitely a time for mental health awareness and just helping people through the PTSD, the trauma, the severe trauma. But also a huge time for just revival in general. I'm a total advocate. Like, I get mental health, that's huge, but I'm sorry, a counselor can only take you so far. Like, until you sincerely know Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior and what he can do for you and the way he can change your life and meet your every need. Like, even though some days, because I struggle with that, some days I'm like, God, why not this? Or why this? Why is this broken in my life? Why don't I have this yet? And it's like, you know what though? I have Jesus, and that's all I need. And kind of like we were telling Bryant, like, you don't understand that until it clicks, until you really say, Jesus, I want you. And then your life will never be the same. But I know in my knower, and like I was telling Bryant, like, I would take a bullet any day if they said, do you believe in Jesus? Yeah, I don't care, kill me, because I know where I'm going. Because I know in my knower, and you can't explain that to anyone, you can't prove it to anyone until you fully experience that solely with yourself, that one-on-one relationship with Jesus. But these people in the islands need that so bad right now, and there's no greater time for them to be more receptive to that than now, because they have zero hope. They have no hope. The government's not helping them. They don't have family. They don't have a home. They don't have a job. And so now is a time to bring in revival.
That's Mika Valerin. I don't know if you remember a picture about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago I showed. He's the guy that wants to join us in planting a church on his side of the island. By the way, we met a number of people who would like us to plant a church on the west side where Lahaina is. Just FYI. So if you plant one, maybe you plant two. Why not? If one's good, two's better. We did get to go to what used to be our favorite beach at night, the Pelee Bay, and the night before we left, and just kind of catch beautiful sunset there. It's a beautiful place. That's it. Thanks, Kacie. Proud of you. Now I got a 2-hour sermon. You ready? Thank you for listening to that, letting us recount that. It's important for us even to process, to bring that home to our church family, because we believe, you let us go, you sent us. And I will say there are things to do. You saw some of them. We're still putting our heads together on some specifics, but we'll let those out. We'll let you know. I'm going to meet with the elders once I know a little more. But there was a team a medical team we're also connected with that are on the island who are good at helping kind of the whole person, not just treat physical things, but the mental things and the emotions. How do you deal with death, and how do you get over that? One of the things we did, as we went around, we prayed with people. We prayed with a lot of people. Hey, can we pray over you? Kacie was very faithful to remember, hey, can we pray with you? And then usually when that was done, they said, I guess they really experienced God in the prayers. They said, oh my gosh, you don't know how bad we need that. And one group says, this is what we need. Like, they forget to pray. And they said, we need this. We need people to come and stop us, to kind of grab us, look us in the eyes. Hey, can I pray with you? Okay? I mean, we need a team of people to go do that. It's a place in trauma. It is a traumatized area. And they'll take anything. Prayers, clean water. All right. Do I go there? I'll just say nobody was excited about Biden's visit to Hawaii. I got this. I got it. This is my shtick. I got to do this. Nobody cared. I'll tell you this. What happened there? Hawaii is red. Thank you, Jesus. Hawaii flipped red. I swear. I swear. It is amazing. Everywhere we went, we want Trump. Where's Trump? Man, bring back Trump. We need Donald Trump. He was the man, right? And going, yeah. Vote next time. Vote. Because someday they'd say, oh, we don't vote. You know, because Hawaii, they go, you know, that's a mainland. We don't want to be any part of them. That's the, you know, that's your stuff. You invaded us. You took us over. That's what they think. Okay, that's called pigeon. I'm giving you right away. That's a sing song. It's how you talk there. Okay, and they go, oh, you're one of us. You talk like this. Shoots. You talk like this, and right away, boom, opens doors. Okay. So either way, Biden comes in. They were actually shouting bad things. You go away, get off island. You're not help to us. You're not doing nothing for us, right? So go back. You know, he promised them $700 a family. The generosity, his heart is just huge. And then, of course, $270 million 2 days later to Ukraine, you know, because they need more. You know how it goes. I can go here, but I'm not going to go here any further. But you get it. I tell you, it's a time. Okay, Lahaina can use a church like this. Because they, like so many churches, they don't hear anything. They don't hear anything. They hear nothing from their church, their pulpit, their pastor about these things that affect us all, about the laws we all live under and the people that make those laws, etc., and that the importance of voting. I mean, they're literally finally figuring out we need to vote because the Hawaiians traditionally don't want to vote because they don't want to take part in the United States. They think there's still a feeling the kingdom of Hawaii is still its own little nation. They can't get away. They're affected if they like it or not. So, okay.